I'm kind of having a bit of an Instagram crisis. And I know this is like first world problems, nothing really important, but I kind of pride myself on trying to be very transparent about the things that I'm going through. And this is a thing I'm legitimately going through, especially as someone who is trying to have a career based on the internet. So I'm having a bit of an Instagram crisis because I realized that I put myself in a niche that I don't know that I belong in anymore. And I quite frankly don't know that I ever really belonged in per se, so much as I just fit into it strategically. I don't know that that makes any sense whatsoever. I'm like trying to rewrite my Instagram bio. And that's really what ticked this off, is me getting ready to rewrite my Instagram bio, because I realized that the way that my Instagram bio is currently laid out, and I will put it on the screen so that depending upon whether or not it's changed or not by this point, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. By the way, this lighting is gonna be all over the place, but I realized I needed to rewrite my Instagram bio, and I'm sitting there trying to rewrite my Instagram bio, and I'm like, let me put something about fashion and beauty. But fashion and beauty feels kind of like, I don't want to just talk about that. Let me put something about life and beauty, but it makes me seem like I'm like some weird lifestyle bloggette. Like, I'm sitting there trying to write my bio, and no words come out that feel right to me. And I realize it's because I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. And usually I'm pretty like, if I seek out a niche, I know what needs to fit into that. Like if you come to me and you say, I want to be a fashion blogger, I'll be able to write a bio for you that fits fashion blogger. But I am trying to write a bio that's supposed to fit me, and that feels so awkward, and I don't know how to do it because I realized I lost my whole point. Like I'm just aimlessly posting right now because my whole point is just gone. And part of that is because I'm still trying to hold on to this like vintage self-portrait artist title, but I realized that that title just really does not fit me anymore. It is not that I don't create vintage inspired or even do my own self-portraits. It's just, that is not all that my platform is or does. And quite frankly, I don't even think that's majority of my platform. I think that's maybe like a third, maybe a pillar. If we're gonna talk business speak, I think that's just like a pillar of what I offer. I don't think that that's majority of my platform, but I made it majority of my platform. And I kind of feel like that's what people expect from me. Now, granted, now my audience is under 3K. It's not like I am the Kardashians and I have all of these people that I'm trying to impress. But the thing is, 3K is more than 1K. It's more than 10 people. Like 3K is, if they were all standing in front of me, I'd be a little overwhelmed, you know? Like, and that's not to say that I'm like overwhelmed on my platform, but it is to say that I value every single one of those people as the people following me. And they deserve to kind of know what they're following. And I feel like I am no longer focusing strictly on the vintage self-portrait artist aspect that those people might have followed me for. And so I'm feeling like, not so much that I'm letting them down per se, but like with that title being my title, I feel like I'm letting them down because it's not even an accurate title anymore. I keep asking myself and I keep thinking, what is the impact that I actually want to make? Because when you are an influencer, it's important to remember that you are an influence. You are an influencer. And I know that sounds so like, well, no duh, but like, I think it's so easy to forget that there is a point, or there should be a point as to why you're doing the things that you're doing if you want to make a career. Once again, this all has to do with career stuff online. This isn't for like your casual Instagrammer. And I keep forgetting what my main point, what I actually want to influence people to do. What I really want to influence people to do is to crawl out of holes, you know, to pick themselves up with the help of others and rise. I said this, I can't even remember who I said this to, but I currently feel like you know, a phoenix rising from the ashes. I don't feel like I'm at my top. I don't feel like I'm peak phoenix level, but I feel like I was in the ashes for a few years and I was burning, and I'm finally rising out of things. And I feel like that is the story I want to tell, because inevitably I want to help people. And one of my favorite comments that I get on my post is people love my outlook on life, or people love how positive and happy, and that makes me want to cry. I feel like I cry every video, but it makes me so emotional to think that I could just make somebody happy by making a post. That could very easily get to somebody's head, but I genuinely, that's like a sidebar comment, sorry. But it does make me happy to think that I have that influence on even just one person. And I want to use my influence for that. I want to use my influence to help people see that there is better. Because like I said, for me, I felt like there wasn't better for so long. And currently my platform, or the box that I kind of put myself in, like I did it to myself, the box that I put myself in makes it really, really hard for me to do that, because I'm focusing so much on trying to stay within the vintage aesthetic and within the self-portrait part that I am having a very hard time trying to incorporate my message into that. Whereas my message for me in my everyday life is incorporated in my fashion, you know, in my style choices, in my makeup, you know, in my self-portraiture, because that's still a part of it. It's just not, you know, the main, it's not the whole thing holding everything together. It is part of the way that I think. You know, the way that I'm rising out is because of the way that I've shifted my mindset, the books that I've read, the people I've talked to, my therapist. I think that those are more important things for me to focus on than for me to be focusing on just trying to fit this vintage mold and just trying to fit this very, very artsy self-portraiture mode. And I just, as I'm saying it, like, it feels very like, well, then just like switch. But I feel very weird about switching and not saying anything, because my platform is changing. My color scheme is getting a little bit darker, and it's not really because like I'm trying to be a hashtag moody. It's just, I like wearing dark stuff. I've always been a little bit gothic, a little bit more on the edgier side. That is something I enjoy. I also really love pink. So that's not to say you'll never see me in pink, but I felt like I was like putting myself in a box. I took on concepts with people that I feel like don't actually represent what you would see me out in the wild doing. And I'm not trying to be, you know, there is an element of persona, I think, in every influencer, because you do still want to keep some things to yourself, but I am not trying to be a complete vintage persona. That is not, I'm not trying to change the influx of my voice. I am not trying to make you think that you could envision me in a different time. I am not trying to create a character per se. I genuinely want to be able to reach out and help you. I want you to feel like you have a friend or a sister or just somebody that knew or knows and has something to say, whether you agree with it or not. And I feel like my current platform is just not enabling me to do that. Am I still vintage? I'm always going to be vintage inspired. I think automatically when a lot of people think vintage, they automatically think 50s, and that's not the case. At this point, I think the 90s are actually considered vintage, which is wild considering I was born in the 90s. So I guess I'm hashtag vintage. I think I'll always, you know, have elements. I've always liked the 60s and the 70s. I've also really liked the 80s, the 90s. Like, I think I'll just always be vintage, but I won't be just so distinctly vintage anymore, because I don't think that I think that I was just doing what I felt like I was supposed to do if I was going to call myself vintage. But the thing is, I'm already vintage. I love vintage stuff. I'm just not distinctly vintage of a time period. My stuff is definitely gonna be more dark, you know, because that's me. I like dark things. I like red, I like black, I like skulls, I like crosses, I like, you know, the horror aesthetic. I actually don't know a lot of horror movies. Like I haven't seen a lot, to be honest. But you know, I like my grunge music. I like my 80s music. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit about this, but the point is, like, I don't think it's fair to say that I won't be vintage at all. I just don't think that that's my core point. I don't think that's my core selling point, is I am vintage. I just don't think that's the thing for me anymore. Am I still doing self-portraits? Yes, I will always do self-portraits. That is a non-negotiable for me, but I don't think I'm gonna pressure myself to do them every single time I shoot, because it's just too stressful. I cannot do it and put out all the messages that I get in my head. I can't put those all out at the speed or the frequency that I want to, and then have to attach them to a self-portrait style photo. That is just way too much work. It's way too much pressure, and I just simply cannot do it. I do want to talk more about fashion, because fashion is something that was not accessible for a very, very long time, and now it is, and I think that it's fun. And I think fashion is a form of art, and beauty is a form of art, and I want to talk about them. So, you know, there's that. But I also want to talk about my life. And I want to tell the stories of my life. I started to talk about being deaf, and this is a whole other video for itself, but there's parts of that video that make me uncomfortable, and I want to talk about those too, because I realized that there's a disconnect between what people expect people of certain groups, whether they are disabled, you know, poor, homeless, whatever. There are expectations put on us that may not always be true. And so I think that would be fun to get into. And I just want to focus more on spreading the message. And that message is, let's see, that you can do it. And you don't need to have all the answers, because I don't know how I'm going to do it. But I did it, and I'm doing it, and I'm figuring it out, and you can too. And yeah, life sucks, and it gets hard. And sometimes, yeah, you suck, and you get hard. But it is possible for better. And I want to show you, and I want to encourage you and help you strive for better. Not for perfection, because that does not exist, but for better. And I think that's about everything I have to say here. I just really, really needed to get that out, because I would not feel right changing my platform without saying anything. I know, once again, just do it. It's like when people are like, I'm gonna unfollow you. It's like, then just unfollow me. Like, you know, it's like, if you want to change your platform, then just change it. But I do not feel right changing it without saying something, because ultimately my platform is about to get way more personal. And I know that there are some people that just probably came just to see some pictures of me with heavy filters on it. And that's fine. I don't blame people for wanting to leave for that. But for the people that want a sister or a friend or something like what I could have used and still could need, that's what I'm here for. I guess until next time, my friends, I absolutely love and adore you. Please, please keep wearing your mask. Get out there, get vaccinated if it's available for you. Absolutely try your absolute darndest to stay happy and healthy out there. And until next time, my friends, bye.